cream one day? Go ahead and take it.
We've all had one.
Do you know anything about mice? This isn't working.
Yeah, I tell you, I don't know how you accomplished it, but every staff member
Which
you
one?
have is so nice. Just really nice.
Thank you.
Isaac, now it is.
Amazing group.
They even knew, did you tell them this morning?
Yeah.
They made it frothy.
They got some sharp members, man.
You believe that train? That train was crazy.
Yeah, that was a crazy train. That's what I was late.
I think it was 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Crazy one.
Long
The train.
Train just to see.
Thank you. I left it finally to go under the viaduct.
I think everybody's here. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Royal Oak Downtown Development Authority. At this time, we'll have public comment. Who would like to? Ms. Harrison.
Ladies first. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Laura Harrison. For several people in the room that do not know my background, I was a retail business owner for 35 years here, from 1983 until I retired in 2017. The last 5 years, I moved my business to Catalpa because of several major changes downtown. Into the late 80s and the 90s, with two other retail business owners, Sandy Johnson and Kathy Sullivan, we formed the Royal Oak Association of Retail. We called it ROAR. Our goal was to plan events to draw shoppers and visitors to downtown. Among the many successful events were Spectacular, Flower Day on Mother's Day, the world's largest garage sale. We used one of the parking garages. That was Tom King's idea. Shop Small Saturday, Art Gallery Walk, Christmas Parade, St. Patrick's Parade, Christmas Window Contest, Art Fair, Taste of Royal Oak at the OCC building. At Pronto's, it was their first come out to introduce themselves to the downtown. It was a great success. We did about 3 or 4 years. Also, many of the businesses had their own in-store events and sales. One of the greatest ones was Patti Smith's Boxer Shorts Contest. If you don't know, it is was hysterically funny. And sidewalk sales. I know I may have missed one or two, but my point is the ROAR committee only asked for financial support from the DDA once or twice, and I think the amount was under $500. The worst event today downtown for a small downtown like Royal Oak was and is the Arts Beats and Eats. I had my own personal experiences that I won't bother with mentioning. One ended with a trip to Beaumont Hospital. Drinking is not good for all people. Moving was the bit, and I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about the broad that knocked me down. Moving was the best solution for me. Downtown of the 80s and 90s were the best and didn't cost the DDA several $1,000s. Finally, the alleys downtown suck. Very difficult for someone with a handicap, which I have for the past 2 years avoided downtown because I couldn't get into my favorite fish restaurant. Really angered me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Yeah, that's who he is.
I thought I was going to have to yield my 3 minutes for her, but she surprised me. Anyway, Bill Harrison, downtown property owner for over 35 years. Referring to the 122 projects or tasks mentioned in the memo, are these already included in the current budget? Will the deputy director fulfill the vacancy left by Daniel leaving? Tim Twing served as the DDA director while being the director of planning. So my assessment is we don't need two people to fulfill a job that one person filled half-time. Will the outreach to property owners include those having occupied buildings? What we need is for the business owners to get involved in promoting the downtown instead of delegating to John Witz. You just heard what Laura had to say about how active the retailers were back in the 90s. Given the $8 million income that the DDA has, I think you ought to fix the alley behind Frank's building and replace the missing trees and grates along the sidewalk. I've waited for at least 3 years for a tree in front of Right Impressions, and Luigi needs a tree also. We need to go back to the former agenda system. The new system is very difficult to manipulate, and it's not user-friendly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Mr. Olbert?
Good afternoon. My name is Frank Hobrecht, and I'm the culprit behind the alley building, the 408 South Washington. Used to be a Kresge's department store. And I just want to say that something that comes to my mind, that my neighbor next door to us at the end of the alley is Trico Hair Salon. And I want to tell you a quick story. And this is under the heading of Great Deeds Are Reserved for Great Men. 20 years ago, when I was on the DDA, we used to get a public comment from a very cranky but socialist, liberal guy. He's still alive, lives in Royal Oak, can't leave his house. And I've been trying to help him out a little bit on his house in terms of snow and landscaping. His hair was down to his shoulders because he hasn't been out of his house in over a year. I mentioned this to my neighbor at the end of the dirt alley, Trico. If he could send somebody, I could give him a few dollars. A week later, he says, let me help him out. We made the appointment. I told the old guy. We brought a chair out to his porch. And the guy from Trico came and gave him a $100 haircut. He hasn't had a haircut in a year and a half. This is the kind of leadership that I would expect from a business owner. And it was just grateful. He shook his hands and said, we'll see you in 3 months, we'll do it again. But the fact is that this guy walks every day down this dirt alley, and I don't know why we can't pave the alley. It's not a lot of money. We're spending $3.5 million, 100 feet to the south, on the other side of the 5th. That's a lot of money. I'm not looking for that kind of money. I'm just looking for some pavement. we want to pave the alley. I had an insurance inspection a couple days ago. She asked, how do you shovel the snow in this alley? I said, I can't. It's filled with potholes, water, and it would be a very, very sad day if somebody, a customer, as Mrs. Harrison mentioned, when you walk up that alley and you find a pothole filled with water or ice, you might fall, you might break a hip, and that will be the end of your walking days. So please put it on the agenda. Vote this thing in. The money is there. I spoke last month that we spent $250,000 for an alley just a couple hundred feet away from here. I don't need $250,000 for that alley. It's 120 feet in length, 30, 40 feet in width. That's it. Please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else for the public comment portion? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Move on to the regular agenda. Approval of the minutes. Let's see. These were for September 17th, 2025.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Director Keith,
Support.
supported by Director Walker. Any corrections to the motions? Or to the minutes? Seeing none? Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Next item is expense items. Anybody have any questions for staff on these?
I move to accept the expenses as presented.
Okay. Motion by Director Gaggio. Second by Director Dunstan. Discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. And on to business. Update on Washington Avenue parking through January 1. Who's going to handle this?
Hello.
Hello.
Did you want to do anything?
I'd like to introduce graciously a colleague and a great collaborator, Kara, who's Communications Director for the City of Royal Oak, but she's really done yeoman's labor, I guess, around the parking issue, which you're about to hear about now, and just a great person.
Okay.
It's all yours, Kara.
I didn't mean to make you have to do that kind of introduction. But yes, for those new faces that I haven't met before, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Kara Sokol. I have been with the city now since March. So rounding in on ending up our full year here. Do you want to go ahead and start for me? Thank you. I like to be more upfront here. This is the way I've always done it before, so I don't want to be back behind the desk. So we're just going to dive right in. Isaac told me to keep this nice and simple and clean and clear so we can get right to the conversation. The ask of me as communications director for the city was to come up with the simplest and most effective way to communicate what is happening with parking, basically since the summer and moving in through the new year. So this I pulled from the worksheet of what's still going on, being run by our parking consultant, Dixon. As you can see, this is just kind of a sampling of what they've got going on. Lots of setup, you're going to see lots of testing, delivery of equipment, testing of equipment, training staff of using equipment, software completions, app completions, things like that. The reason I included kind of that sampling of what we're looking at is because what you'll see, I believe, is that a lot of it is invisible. So we're going to have a lot. It's like the duck legs under the pond. Lots of things moving quickly in the next couple of months, but people in our community aren't necessarily going to see it. That makes what we've got going on right now invisible, which can present a challenge. The other challenge that we're up against is that It would be lovely if I could give you all a calendar and say, on this day, November 17th, this work in this location is going to begin, and we could let everybody know ahead of time. But the fluid nature of what's happening behind the scenes right now means that that kind of exactness isn't really possible. And so we're finding, after speaking with our parking consultant, that the best way to handle this is more on a week-to-week or bi-week-to-bi-week basis, so they can say, okay, we've completed this, we're not quite here, we're going to be doing X, Y, and Z this week, this is still to come. And that can add some challenges when we're messaging things. The final piece here is that parking, especially in a downtown, now you're all DDA, and so you're dealing with the business community, and they are static, and their needs and questions are going to be static. But we're also looking at the people who utilize the downtown parking, and they tend to engage only when they need to. So if I have a lunch planned here in 3 weeks, I care the day before that lunch plan or the day of that lunch plan. And so it doesn't matter if we've communicated 100 times. If I haven't seen it up to this point because I haven't been invested in it, I need to be able to find it quickly and figure out what's going on that date. So we have a few goals here that we want to accomplish with our communications this fall and winter. Every single communications plan I write, I include flood the pool. I would love for January 1st to hit and people to say, ugh, enough, I don't want to hear it anymore. Because it means that we've so inundated them with the information that it's become almost boring or redundant. Fantastic, you don't even need me anymore. Again, we want to make sure that when somebody does, even if it's 2 months from now, engage with this information, they can find it easily and they can find it quickly. Ideally, we would love for, I'm sure you're all aware of these little Facebook groups and little community conversations that happen outside our main channels. We would love if a question or a complaint rose up in there and the residents and business owners themselves stepped in and started answering questions effectively, not just throwing information out there. That means that they have the right information they need and they've become an advocate. And the more neighbor to neighbor or business owner to business owner conversations that happen that we don't have to step down into, the better. And then we want to make sure that we give all of you, our city commission, our business owners, our maybe residents or customers who we consider VIPs who are very regularly a part of the discourse, the right information to be able to have the conversations you need to have. So my plan here, my proposed plan anyway, is to do a weekly update. Sounds simple, but we would title it This Week in Parking. We have a graphic design element for it. It's colorful, upbeat, very simple, not a ton of photos or a ton of design. We would keep the colors, the font, and that look the same throughout. And we would basically put this out every single Monday. This would be starting the 27th, which is next Monday, and going through probably mid-January, early to mid-January. And we would have a kind of a mix, almost think of it like a little mini newsletter. Got a couple of bullet points, like here's what's happening this week in the parking change. Here are the things that are happening behind the scenes. You can't see them, but they're going on and people are working really hard on them. Here's an action item for you this week. Download the Park mobile app or go to this website and check out a really cool YouTube video about how to use Flowbird meters. We would probably have a countdown going on, and then any kind of FAQ that we feel like would be affecting people in a timely way that week or the following week, we would include that as well. This would be in a number of places, again, because when we want people to, even if they're just Googling on their phone, we want them to find it quickly. So this would go on all of the social channels on Mondays. That would be all of the city's channels as well as the DDA's channels. It would go on our homepage. What I would do is create a static place for it under the main slider, potentially even including the main slider. This is important enough that we're discussing that internally. And that would be updated every week. So it's always in the same place. Information changes, location does not. On the downtown parking page, there's a new carousel that I created on top that's just kind of like rotating information. So this would be with that. It would kind of be like the main headlines you need to know about parking in downtown Royal Oak this week. We would do push notifications through all of our subscribers on the website. So as it stands, I can go to the ROMI website and say, hey, I'm interested in this. Anybody who is deselected city news, downtown news, parking, information for seniors, or there's a fifth category, I can't remember, we would send to them every week, and it would go in through their email or their text message. We would do the same thing with your DDA newsletter for all of your, we have a business audience, that's one set of information, and then we have a subscriber audience for people who utilize the downtown. That's a different set of information, but it would go to both. We would definitely put things out internally here through the city so that we make sure that the people at the front lines of our call centers and our departments who are out and about dealing with people downtown have the right information. And then while these aren't necessarily press release worthy incidents in themselves, because it's just kind of like a continuation of news, we would invite all of our media to follow these channels and then push them an update weekly so they could see what's going on, and we could offer opportunities for them to explore anything further. So basically, I've already spoken with Allison at Dixon, and the plan would be that every Thursday, she and I have a brief meeting so that we can be up to speed on what's happening the next week, and then a preview of what's happening the coming week. So we have all the information coming in at the right time. Just kind of pointing out on the strategy of this thing, the background information, it's important that people know that things are going on, but also I think it helps people feel a part of a process that they can't really see or take part in right now. And so we're envisioning potentially pictures of staff being trained. We're thinking of, a really exciting update. Hey, the app is completely ready to go and ready to be pushed out, those kinds of things. And then we also want to make sure that we're starting to set the tone on the content being friendly and introducing parking ambassadors. Say before we start ticketing or doing citations, there'll be a phase where they're doing kind of friendly little notes, like, hey, this will be a citation in a month. So we start to feature that so that we can start to get people acquainted to the new system in a positive light before it even launches. And then we're going to measure success for a few different ways. My thing is tracking on social media and media in general. We have a great tool that helps us not only track the content we're putting out, but we'll be able to set up like digital ears to kind of listen to conversations that are happening outside of our channels and allow us to see what kind of questions we're hearing, what kind of chatter we're getting. Obviously, as we're doing that, we're going to check in internally because a lot of this is, A/B testing in a way. Like we put out X information and we saw there were a whole bunch of questions about why, so we didn't address that enough, and so let's reassess. And then, on Isaac's end, through check-ins and conversations with the businesses and taking questions and hearing what kinds of feedback we're getting there. So I think that's it, but I'd love to take any questions you have.
Director London, I saw you taking notes.
My question is, do you have any communication to the businesses in Washington to reiterate that their employees should not be taking that parking spot? I've been taking pictures daily, well, not daily, but to seeing the same cars parked there on Washington all day.
Yes, Isaac mentioned to me that he had heard that was a concern, and we did draft content for a newsletter specifically for that. I'm in the process right now of trying to figure out how to manipulate so that we're only sending to some business owners and not hundreds of people. And then in addition to that, we have a whole piece of talking points / FAQs, if you will. And I like to make that up for behind the scenes people so that as you all are having conversations with business owners, as Isaac's having conversations, it's a reminder about pushing that kind of narrative and, answering typical questions and the kind of tone to use and things like that. So that's kind of twofold responded to.
And secondary, I have so many customers confused about the parking. Like, can I park here? Can I not park here? Just FYI.
Okay, that's good feedback. That means that we need to be doing this.
Because the meters are bagged, so they don't know it means do not park or. That's it.
I had a question. Kara, I wanted to thank you for this presentation and this update. I just had a few questions. Initially, you mentioned social media and the use of some of those. Is this just Facebook or is this other social media like Instagram and TikTok? Just making sure that you catch, again, the wide range of users of the
Yes,
space.
absolutely. We do not use TikTok
Okay.
as an organization
Got
yet
it.
or at all. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. This would be Facebook and Instagram. As well as YouTube. So both organizations have accounts on YouTube, and we've already done video. Isaac's now done another video. So we'll have a channel dedicated to parking, and we'll make sure that we're hitting that as well.
Thank you. And then my other question was, as it relates to continue promotion around the awareness of what's to come in January, are you all looking at taking advantage of any of the upcoming winter activities like the Royal holidays to promote amongst that crowd, again, awareness about what will be taking place in January?
Yes, we actually are. We have not gotten to the conversation of having a presence in person at some of these things, although we will.
Sure.
That's always a part of Judy David's, special event attendance. I know that Joe advised me, Mr. Gacho, I'm not sure how professional this is, advised me a couple of months ago. So in the upcoming edition of Royal Oak Today, we have a 4-page section in the middle. And Joe thought it would be a great idea to combine parking, winter activities, and downtown in general to feature in that. So we have a 4-page feature that talks about downtown dollars, all the holiday events that are coming up and the reasons to shop downtown, and then all the parking changes and where people can find information. So that will not only help people who get the magazine, but we'll get an extra box of those as a handout, nice color spread that we can, send to all the businesses and use as a talking piece.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Key.
Yeah, I just had a couple comments. Thank you for the presentation. In terms of getting others involved, I want to make sure just to bring a couple of ideas out to the table, just making sure we get the chamber involved. Obviously, they're another vocal point person that we can make sure. I just didn't see them on the list. And then I was wondering if getting into the high schools, or even like a raffle or doing something to try to get, because they're those students have, getting into the school system. I didn't know if that was one of your channels and ways to get up.
It's a great suggestion, and to be honest, I hadn't thought about the high school. So I love that, and that sounds like a great conversation we can have internally.
Sure.
Isaac and
Just
Judy
a couple things.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Just one last
Yes.
thing. I think you're going along the right path as it relates to the parking ambassadors. I think it's great that you're also using staff to kind of demonstrate how things are done, but some people may say that staff and they have the inside loop. But with the parking ambassadors, I think that would resonate a lot with, the everyday user of the system. So I think that's going down.
I agree. That's top down. And I know we've talked with Dixon and the police department about potentially even putting them in brightly colored vests that say, downtown parking ambassador, how may I help you today? Or how may I help what you're looking for? Making sure that they're not just helping with the system, but giving directions to people looking and kind of flipping. I worked in higher ed for years, and I remember doing a campaign to help the dean's office become less a principal's office and more an assistant, and walking around wearing big pins like, I know the dean, how can she help you today? Things like that. And I'm envisioning that sort of a friendly move into this direction. So I agree.
Okay. I just have one question, and I'm not sure it's for you or for Isaac. Does the DDA itself have a quote-unquote directory of the downtown businesses? The current downtown businesses?
The short answer is yes. I believe that it's reflected on the website, though that might not be entirely up to date. The more extended answer is we'll be bringing something forward at the next committee meeting for a CRM system where we can track that information, and that would be a shared system with the city, so they also have access to business owner, property owner, and other stakeholder information.
Okay, I guess what I was just wondering, Isaac, is if the DDA has the ability to send out material specifically for the downtown businesses, as opposed to hoping and anticipating that the downtown businesses would go on one of the websites to look for information.
I'm going to throw it to Kara because she's better versed in or e-blast and how that works. But we do have that capacity. I just reinforce from my experience, Mr. Chairperson, that I find the high touch approach, when used with a high tech approach like an e-blast, always reinforces the message. So I want to make a personal commitment before all of you here to walk up and down, especially Washington, and interact with each of those businesses, especially as we're rolling this out. And further, I wanted to reply to Director London's comment about the repeat offenders. I've already had positive communications with Chief Moore, and I'll follow up with you to get some more details. And I've been instructed that at any time we can utilize the general line for the police department to make them aware of these issues. But Kara, I'll throw it to you.
Yes, so the DDA does have an email service. It's got two audiences. One would be just anybody who's interested in downtown and parking. The other one would be specifically business owners.
Okay.
And it does have a system in place where if, a business moves out and an email changes, then we remove them. The one thing I will say, and I included it on our talking points, is that it would be great to recirculate and remind people as you're talking to businesses, hey, are you signed up for this? Because all the information comes directly. It's all of them. I think we have 430 on the mailing list right now. So we have a pretty good
Yeah.
audience there. But we should always remind people that it's there and it's a good resource to sign up for.
Okay, that's great, and I would encourage Isaac to develop that e-blast type system. I think would be extremely effective, particularly for our downtown business owners. Is that Director Dunstan?
Yeah, I think it's great, but I still think that Isaac showing up at the businesses or the new deputy director showing up at the businesses with a hard copy, I'm all for saving trees, but that's always a complaint. It's that, oh, I never saw that email. And I think there's some impact to that. Or an assistant manager sees the email and doesn't pass the information on or whatever. So I'm not saying every communication, I'm just saying maybe the major points.
The great thing about an online or an e-blast system like what we have is that I can actually generate a list for Isaac. I can send out an email to the businesses that are on the list, and I can say, it was opened and seen by 40%. The 60% who didn't open it or see it are these people. So you may want to start there. These people saw it. These people saw it and stayed in and read it for a long time and engaged with it. So we can see kind of the whole gamut of how people are, yeah.
Yeah, Director Keith.
Sorry, one more thing. I put a sticker on the outside, like a poster. I put that on my outside of my store. You know what
Awesome.
I mean? Like that would be like an easy thing, and it's like hundreds of people every day. Like just put it right next to the door. What's it gonna hurt? So that's just another way to
Okay,
just get
great.
it. You know what I mean? Like we have to get it out.
Yeah, have to get it out. Okay, if nobody has any more questions,
I'll finish with just one
Sure.
comment. One comment. This communications ask is tricky. We are replacing a system that is complicated because it's a contractual obligation. We have to leave all the equipment in there. We can't just remove it. And it's going to have to stay there until spring while we install a new system and communicate to folks that you should be using the new system, ignore the old system that's in there. So I just want to underscore, this is tricky. And so I think a lot of this presentation was focused on process. So I just want to say I appreciate the process. There's things, it's so mechanical. There's so many layers going on behind the scenes. It's our concern, not the public's concern, but what the public's going to see is competing systems. Yeah. And it's our job to figure out how to make that clear somehow. So just making a point of emphasis that I'm not walking past the complexity of the ask here. And then a couple things that you wouldn't know about that I know about. We're also looking at doing a demo unit. I've asked the Flowbird folks if they could install a demonstration unit, which we can communicate, but let's get that in there early, teach people how to use it, get people comfortable using it. And I think the DDA has a role to play in kind of encouraging your downtown employees. We're talking about ambassadors. It's always helpful if the employees are experts in the system who can then communicate that to the guests. So that might be an opportunity for the DDA to get everyone here to get trained up locally and become the ambassadors yourselves. And then, again, I'm also really focusing on Park Mobile, wanting to see if we can generate any prepaid parking codes that we could start getting out there and take advantage of the ice rink and the holiday traffic, so we can start circulating free Park Mobile codes for people to utilize to come celebrate the new system as part of a new year, new you kind of a thing. The question is, you know, when can we get those codes, because we're still not fully developed yet. And so that's, I'll put that out there to say we're thinking about it. We don't know if we can deliver it yet, but we're thinking about it.
Okay, anything else? All right, thank you, Kara.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, next item of business, placer license addition.
Great, so let me close out here and turn this on. So you will have seen in your packet, and for those of you on the Marketing and Business Development Committee, we discussed this at the committee meeting, and there's a recommendation. Basically what we're trying to do is gain access to credit card sales data for selected businesses in the downtown. The why is this will give us another KPI so we can measure our day-to-day, month-to-month, year-to-year activity comparatively year-over-year. It'll also give us a measurement for special events and promotions that are held in the downtown, such as Small Business Saturday, which I heard referred to earlier. So the recommendation is to go ahead with getting this addition to our existing Placer AI license. And I'm also pleased to report, in addition to getting the credit card data, we'll also get one more signed user who can access Placer. And we have some ideas about who to get that in the hands of to create the maximum benefit for us in Royal Oak. So with that, the recommendation is to go ahead.
Okay. Isaac, we're not, at least I'm not seeing a recommendation on it. Are you looking for action on this?
Yes, there should have been.
I'm not seeing an attachment on this item.
It was in the marketing packet prior. It's a $7,088 annual expenditure, and also one that will be prorated between now and April 26th, when our current license ends. So, but we can amend the packet, and we can also circulate that. I apologize, that should be in there.
Okay.
If someone from the, I'm sorry, I don't have my mic on. If someone from the Marketing and Business Development Committee could attest that you did see the agreement and there was discussion, that would be much appreciated.
I'll move it, just to, $7,088?
Yes.
Say up to $7,500 for this addition for Placer.
Motion by Director Dunstan.
I'll second it.
Second by Director London. Does anybody have any questions about the motion?
I do have one question.
Yes.
Just on the credit card data, do you like work with the business owner that then you get their, by business, or how does that shake out? I'm just kind of curious.
There's actually third parties that collect that data, and it's not going to be available for every business. It's going to be more for the larger scale businesses with multiple locations. So to speak to a specific interest, if you were a small business owner in Royal Oak, we will not be seeing your credit card data.
Yeah, just curious.
Okay.
Thanks.
Director Yazbek.
Didn't we say something, it's like the national, it's,
National chains?
I guess I can't recall exactly how you would elicit the credit card information from businesses.
So again, it's collected by a third party, and then it would just be another tab within the Placer platform that we could see it when we're looking at individual businesses or individual geographies within Placer. And it would be included in all the reports that we generate subsequently.
But the individual businesses would have to consent, or no, they don't have to consent?
No, again, third parties collect this data all the time, and though largely it's for almost exclusively the larger businesses that have multiple locations.
Further questions? Yes. Mr. Dulac.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, so I think the concern is, so would we be then having in public meetings documentation of a specific business's credit card transactions, or we would be seeing it in the aggregate?
Aggregate.
There you go.
And all the data within Placer is anonymized.
There you go. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I have a motion and a second on the floor. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Deputy Director Executive Session Scheduling. So I'll give the top level that we have our 3 finalists who will be interviewing in person next week. And I want to give a special thank you to the HR department that's been stellar throughout this search process, especially Marlissa, who's been my primary point of contact. Following those interviews, we'll have a recommendation. I also should take a moment and thank Directors Dunstan and Director Van Est for agreeing to serve on that search committee and sitting in those 3 interviews to help represent all of you. I think you'll be well served with each of them. But what we'd like to request is an executive session following the end of those interviews. And the date that we'd like to tentatively float with you is October 29th and the time of 4 p.m. And if I could have feedback, I would appreciate that.
You're looking for the full board to convene on that date?
Correct. I'd be happy for a quorum. And, you know, really what we want is to have that open communication with the board as we go about making one of the most important decisions that any of us will make, aside from hiring a director.
So this would be a posted scheduled
Closed session.
closed session?
Yes, correct.
Okay. What's the desire of the board here? Mr. Kramer is requesting November 10th?
29th.
October 29th,
I'm
I
sorry,
believe.
October 29th.
That's next Wednesday.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need action on that, or are we just agreeing to it?
At what time? 4. Maybe.
What's your recommendation, Mr. Gosselin? Do we need action on this, or can we just agree to this?
I think you can just agree to it. It just has to be posted within the OMA requirements.
Okay, then let's make it official and just say that we will meet on that day at 4 o'clock. Everybody good with that?
Yep.
Okay, would you make sure that we all get an e-vite or a
Yeah,
notice or?
proper notice,
Proper
invites
notice.
and email will be made. I realized I might have made a verbal slip here. We would not meet if we did not have a quorum, so we will
Right,
have
okay.
a quorum at that meeting. Thank you.
Okay. So just, yeah, make sure we get a reminder on that, please. Okay, next up is reports. Arts, Beats and Eats 45-day wrap-up. Mr. Witz, I'll let you start out and we can go from there.
Are you do the deck?
Yes.
We'll start with the partnership recap deck if we could. Now we'll go quickly, everyone. So this is an overview on what was probably one of our best and most positive impacting events in our history. I'll start with attendance on the next slide. 345,000, which is our 5th best in our history, and it was up 15% from last year's number. On the charitable giving side, I sent everyone a separate email. We set a record in donating proceeds to the community for the entire region, and we do have guests from the region. We hit a record of $400,000 that was distributed to local nonprofits, and they are in need with some of the challenges going on, and just a lot of great feedback there. Of that $400,000, $150,000, which is a record, also went to Royal Oak-based nonprofits. As we hit the arts, we got ranked by Sunshine Artist Magazine as the 24th best art show in the United States. I think many of you got to see some of the artwork out there. It was fabulous, well received from surveys. The amount of art and support of those small businesses, many from Michigan, and those artists was well over $1 million of art purchased from just 4 days. On the music side, we did have, as many of you know, sponsorship challenges. One of the cuts we had to make was on music, yet we had the same attendance. You know, I kind of laughed at some of the comments online about music lining being for this generation or that generation, but all I can tell you is that the crowds that were out there loved the music. It was packed on all of our main acts, and just a lot of good feedback, and was excited about not just the national music feature, but the local bands. You had many Royal Oak musicians, and 10 stages of entertainment between family stages and, as you know, a wide variety. I'm going to skip through the food side because it'll make me want to eat, but we had 60 trucks and filled with many local businesses. Many Royal Oak businesses were represented as well. On the family programming side, we had an interactive mural where children got to paint 2 murals on Saturday and Sunday that are being displayed as art projects in Kroger stores and are going to tour around. The Detroit Zoo was new this year. Backpacks were given away to kids this year, and just a vibrant program. My pride in the family entertainment is the partnership with the Detroit Institute of Arts, and the fact that they are curating a lot of our music. Performers that go to the DIA and perform at the DIA were available, and just beyond, you know, I think what has been usually jugglers, storytellers, musicians. We had dance troupes with many cultures represented. Thank you. Had dance troupes with many cultures represented, and I won't go back, but just love the family programming. Some of the featured sponsor activations, you know, going to recognize a Soaring Eagle. I do see at least one Lions fan at the dais representing, but they brought the Detroit Lions drumline and cheerleaders, which created a crowd and excitement at 5th and Washington, and took over that intersection twice on Saturday. And I think on other featured activations, I will give credit to the House of Dang for once again, you know, investing in just a significant amount of music and interactive entertainment, and also tastefully delivering the sale and consumption of cannabis, where virtually anyone who was not interested in that didn't notice it. And that continued again this year. I mentioned the Kroger. I will also mention Oakland County and their collaboration with us on saluting and putting an event together for veterans, and also an initiative that they have on veteran awareness and fundraising. They chose Arts Beats and Eats to kick off that initiative. We helped produce commercials for them that are now running on TV, and we hosted 250 veterans and guests at a concert to see the Epic Eagles. We continued our sustainability with no plastic and worked with Shupan on basic recycling. And then the publicity recap I'll deal with when we get to marketing. Our website traffic was way up from last year's 375,000. We were at 455,000 independent visitors went to the website. There's digital marketing with more than 2 million impressions and a reach of 573,000 people, which generated a lot of those visits. And again, I'm going to touch publicity when I get to the marketing deck. Same with promotional advertising. And I think there's no other numbers that I need to. And then there's some nice photos at the end. And then I'm just going to, as I ended this deck,
just a thank you to the board for their support, a thank you to the city for the resources, and I think with the amount of space and an area that is used, and I just think it's critical to have this kind of result. And we had amazing weather, and just thank you to the city and this board for the support and helping to make these results happen. And then I'll have one more kind of thank you at the end of this next deck. So we'll swing to the next one, which is the marketing recap, and I think this is where the value of the event, just as far as promoting the downtown and in a positive way and associating the downtown with positive publicity. I start with just a list of the TV and radio partners that are involved in the event. So all 3 major network stations were involved. You'll see the amount of spots, the added value that's given. Metro Times, the Detroit News were partners. In these cases, we are all getting almost triple the amount that we're spending, in some cases 7 to 8 times what we're spending in value, because the stations and the media partners want to affiliate with the event. So think about that. 15 major media partners are tripling or quadrupling it because they want to be there or they want their name associated with what we're doing. So I'm not going to go, let's see, I'll pick out one as an example. So we paid $6,000 on the Odyssey platform, and they delivered $47,000 of complimentary mentions to us. That every one of those mentions the city of Royal Oak and downtown Royal Oak. And then overall at the end, I have a media buy breakdown. We had paid media of $128,000, added value of $469,000, total overall media that included the city of Royal Oak and for the event, $597,000. And that's not even the best number that I'm going to share with you. The best number I'm going to share with you is that there were more than 1,100 stories about the event. 1,100 stories, some major, some minor. 1,100 stories delivered an audience impressions of 228 million, and were valued at $13 million. So that's the investment that's there. So then on a personal note, before I take questions, I think that the underrated part of this event is quality of life, bringing people together. We see marketing, we'll talk about business impact too in a second, but I guess I'll go with my close and then kind of pass it to Isaac to help me with one element of this. But bringing people together, as you've heard me say, in peace, in this time that we're in, families, adults celebrating, and not one incident. People smiling, how they get along. The event almost teaches us, to remind us what we have as a society. And I don't want to, you look at the world and you look at what's going on, and then you see us for 4 days and how many people are hanging out in peace, happy, smiling, bumping into each other and saying, instead of excuse me, they're saying excuse me instead of what? It's such a joy. That part is a joy. And I think we cannot underestimate as a team what we do for this area and the society in addition to the marketing stuff. So just on the economic impact side, based on the county and state formula, our impact is in the $25 million. If you take our attendance and plop that in, that's the regional, value. I'm just gonna say that's a formula. I think it's in the several million locally, and I want to mention that the event supported the DDA's Downtown Dollars program, and I'm not sure if all the board knows, but we provided paid staff to, we put out the signs that were provided by the city and the DDA, but we had a paid staff person at each sign encouraging people to download the gift card so they weren't just there, and I think it led to a nice impact. I think we had over 3,000 people, download the cards, and the spending might still be going on. And I called a few of the businesses and asked what was the spend there, and we heard anywhere from an average of $30 on a $20 card, and I spoke to two businesses that were next to each other that mentioned $50 on a $20 card that might have items that were a little more expensive. So I applaud the DDA. I helped create that program with a former member who I just got to see the other night, Matt Riley, and you know, it was just it's just great that we've continued that, and I know that businesses like Right Impressions and others have enjoyed that and the push to get our guests into the streets. And not only do we have the paid person there, but we put it on the website, we promote it in our news interviews to make sure you get those things. Isaac, was there something you wanted to add to that, to those dollars?
I think I'd just like to highlight the big picture with the gift cards. With our upcoming campaign for Small Business Saturday this year, we're going to exceed $3 million of gift cards distributed. Our total redemption rate is well in excess of $2.1 million. The Arts Beats and Eats promotion did fairly consistent with that. We had $75,780 distributed to 3,789 people, of which there were 2,677 redemptions with a cash-on-cash redemption rate of 62%. And I'm actually really pleased to highlight and celebrate and point out one of our top 10 redemptions is actually sitting at the dais. Director London, congratulations with Right Impressions. Top of the list was Sidetrack Bookshop, a number of others. We actually had a total of 62 of the 74 businesses that accept gift cards doing redemptions, but the top 18 exceeded the average, so they did better than the bottom 40 or so. So I think by all measures it was a highly successful promotion.
Just a question, follow-up question on my side before I make a comment. The money that wasn't used goes back to the city and your system at no charge, correct?
I wish it was like that. There is a small restocking fee, I believe 10%, but we are seeing those funds come back to us, and then we're going to circulate them and push them right back out again for Small Business Saturday, where we have $100,000. Slightly different structure. It's a BOGO promotion, so you buy $1 gift card up to $100, you get $1 up to $100. And the expectation is those dollars will fly out. And this will launch November 14th, then lead into Small Business Saturday and throughout the holiday season. The bonus dollars will expire January 1st, but the gift cards people can buy can be redeemed at any time thereafter.
So my comment to the board would be, if there's a 65%-ish redemption and it's only a 10% back, then I would recommend allocating, you know, if you want to give away 75,000 Arts Beats and Eats, I would allocate 110 because it's only going to cost you 75-ish. So just a thought for the future, because if we promote those cards longer and give more out, because there is some that aren't used, that would just be something to consider for next year. I will take this time at the dais to just mention, in response to Director Walker and Director Gaucho on the Royal Oak Holidays stuff, that we are committed on that front to use all of our assets to promote parking in messaging in any way possible. There will be some great updates probably next month. Press releases coming out in November with our full lineup of programming, and I will tease just to say that we're about to announce a partnership with a major television station that is going to guarantee numerous visits to the event and opportunities for interviews from the city to talk about parking and use the assets of that event in any way, shape, or form that we can. We are committed to. We will have ads that can tease it. We'll have a social media spend. And I will also say that we are one booth away from having 2 full weekends of holiday markets. So there is a lot of good stuff brewing. So I will just tease that and take any questions and about the event, and you have our gratitude from all of us who work on this.
Any questions for Mr. Witz?
I do.
Mr. Walker.
Mr. Witz, I want to thank you for this report. Kind of keeping sorry, kind of keeping with the theme of parking as I was looking through it, and even with some of the pre-meetings, I know that was one of the main points of interest that came up from a lot of the business stakeholders as well as possible attendees. How did that work this year with Arts, Beats, and Eats? If you can just speak to parking over the 4 days.
Well, I will just say our guests didn't have trouble finding parking. I think there's some synergies that we can have related to some of the metered spaces. And again, I want to create the understanding that one of the reasons we don't have traffic issues in the downtown during Arts, Beats, and Eats is people are not looking for metered parking. Imagine people circulating over and over and what kind of traffic impact that would have to that. So the idea of having them reserved for vendors and the time that not all of those are filled at all times, I think is something we'll continue to work on, but it would be essential not to have those meters available. Secondarily, I don't know the final numbers, but I know that there was a very successful, that the money taken in for parking was very successful, and that will help cover city costs. And on the positive side, from the social media side of things, we had next to zero complaints or issues on the cost of parking. And I think the pricing of parking, which we were in discussions with the city with, was very wise. There was a raise of the parking close to the event and maintaining of the lower level parking at the middle school and the farmer's market and the price at the high school. That does not allow folks to have a complaint about the cost of parking when you're offering $10 parking with a free shuttle and you look at what it costs to get to a sporting event. We had the experiment of raising parking by 20% near the event, and those decks all did very well. So, and there were no negative feedback of any significance on our social platform. So I don't know, we'll find out soon on how the bills were paid and so forth, but I'm guessing, really good results and nothing negative on the parking side.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just offer a comment. Being it's still my first go around in the fall post Arts, Beats, and Eats, but I want to focus in on the data. I appreciate it, and I'll isolate the YIFTI, which is no shade at you, John. I just want to. That's one thing the DDA can control because we invest in that, and so what gets measured gets managed, and so it's one thing for me to have a belief that YIFTI is a good investment, but throw some data in there and I can see some metrics and quantify it, and now I have confidence it's a good investment, and belief and confidence is a distinction. And I personally can get there with data, and so I really appreciate the emphasis on data, and I'm hoping we continue to see more of that. On the event side too, I think the data is really affirming.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Switz.
Thank you.
Well, to that point, Mr. Chairman, the next bullet point on inflatable playscapes wrap-up. You all may recall this was a $10,000 expenditure that we made leading into Arts, Beats, and Eats. And since data just came up, I'll respond with data. We had 3,500 patrons utilize the playscape with an average dwell time of 36 minutes. The top 14.9% of participants were from the 2 Royal Oak zip codes. So our residents were the primary users of it, and Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. was the busiest time. These are all insights that we've gathered from our Placer AI report. We don't have any hard and fast recommendations for you tonight, but we do encourage you to look at the data when making similar decisions in the future.
Any questions for staff? Isaac, I appreciate the data, and I agree with Director Gaccio here. It's helpful to have this information, and I thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think this was a good thing, and even though I was hesitant about supporting this going into it, I do think now I'm a little more comfortable with it. But I think we have to take a look, at an item like this long and hard before the next request comes forth at that time.
Thank you,
So-
Mr. Chairman. And another addition I'd make to that is, to the extent we have processes that are clearly stated, and people develop an expectation how we go about doing our work, then they'll also have clear expectations if situations come up where we have to say no. Because something doesn't fit in with what we're hoping to do, or past performance doesn't hit the goals or targets we were hoping for, so we need to take a pause before committing to it for another year, etc. So we'll continue to have those discussions, certainly, and in light of the feedback given today, we'll continue to bring the data forward, but also couch it with all of those personal experiences we all have and the discussions that we have with people. We really need to be high tech and high touch in our approach so we can be most effective.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I will go to the last portion. We've reached the end of my report. I did provide this in writing for purposes of tonight, because I know a number of people have read it already, including some of those in the audience. Thank you. I'm just going to touch on a few key points. I want to update the commission that we have a burn rate of 12.5%. That's just shy of $1 million of spending year to date for this fiscal year. I anticipate that's going to speed up as more of our disbursements begin to pile up, but it's a little behind where we'd be if you just portioned out our budget over the 4 quarters of the year. So we'll keep an eye on that. I also want to highlight and thank our colleague Leah from the Finance Department, who clarified that the previous year fund balance was $1.6 million, and we're still awaiting the final audit to have that final number, but I think that's more accurate than some of the prior numbers that were circulated, so thank you to Leah for that. We continue to have success with the contractors, working with them, making really nice, sometimes small quality of life improvements like the flowers and other things. In fact, just before the meeting today, our contractor with English Gardens visited us and is helping with a small lighting project that I'm going to bring forward as we near the holidays, bringing back a cherished community tradition with the holiday tree. Director search is going well. I am keeping busy. And my bullet points in there, again, which I urge you to read, we talked about many, including the gift card program, the collaboration we have with our colleagues at all levels of government, and previously in committee, but here before you, I want to give a special thank you to Adrian for the connections that you made when you were wearing your hat with the MEDC. And I know it's public now. I hope it's not so forward of me to congratulate you in your new role with a wonderful corporate citizen, DTE, and we're excited to work with you in that capacity too, hopefully. Additionally, we're working to finalize the Hazelton agreement. I was doing some work today, putting together draft materials for that and going back and forth with their team. And of course, it will be internally vetted, and whatever we bring forward will be rock solid. So we're working to get those details in place. Really pleased also to share that the first of our 4 commercials have been finalized, and we'll begin releasing it shortly. I believe the marketing team's seen that. I don't know if the whole board's seen it yet, but it's a wonderful 30-second spot letting people know it's a new day in Royal Oak and how we're making changes, including with our parking, and keeping it upbeat and welcoming people back. Last but not least, I want to highlight that I attended the Main Street Oakland County retreat on October 16th in Pontiac. It was a day-long retreat. There were colleagues from about 28 of the downtowns in Oakland County, and it was a good opportunity for me to connect with some people I've known for a while, meet a number of new people, and we talked about leadership. We talked about difficult conversations, and how to navigate those. And there was a lot of shared learning. I'll just give you one quick insight. During lunch, I would sit at a table with my colleagues from Birmingham, Farmington, and one who's in Northville, but previously was in Farmington. And I couldn't think another time that I'd be at a table with those 3. And it was a really healthy and wonderful exchange of views. Last but not least, we've had 104.25 volunteer hours from 19 volunteers through the end of October, actually October 17th. That's $3,626 of in-kind contribution to the work of the program. And to put it another way, I'd like to thank each of you for giving on average $190 worth of your time, though I'll be the first to admit the value of the time that you've given is far greater than that. With that, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Does anybody have any other business they'd like to bring before the board tonight? I'm not seeing any. I'll entertain a motion.
To adjourn?
Okay, I got a motion by Director Dubach. Second by Director Keith. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes, and we are adjourned.
Well, cheers, Mike.
Thank you. I promise you. That's why I think I'm going to go to a week.
Second time?